What's up? Am I live? I didn't think I was going to make it, actually. Am I super dark? I can't really quite tell. If I'm like invisible, let me know. Otherwise, it doesn't 100% make sense if you can see me, or make sense, make a difference if you can see me because, well, I'm going to be just switching back and forth between different scenes and showing you the news. So you probably really don't care if you actually see me, as long as you can hear me and see the stories. That's probably the biggest thing. I do feel like I'm a bit dark, though. I can't quite tell. It's always hard for me to check my exposure because, well, the wire gets in the way of the camera exposure, and then on the computer, it gets blown out by the actual light. So sometimes I'm underexposed, and I'm just having to like do it by eye, So let me know if the exposure sucks. Oh wow, I know what does suck right now is the. Here we go. So hopefully that's better. I just switched over to the other mic. I don't know why. It seems like it always like just switches. Like just I just turned this back on and I have this hooked up. I wish it would just keep the same settings, but it doesn't. Let me know if I'm too dark because I cannot. Like I said, I can't really check my exposure too much. I feel like I'm dark. I'm gonna hit the light. If I'm overexposed, then I'm overexposed. Mm-hmm. Better? Worse? Okay. So we have some pretty big news tonight. I actually wasn't even sure I was going to make it live. That being said, there's at least one story that I wanted to check out and get into. And it's pretty cool because it's something that I've been talking about for a while on whether or not this camera was going to be coming. And it's the Fujifilm GFX100 Mark II. Or I don't know if they're just calling it 2 and not actually, they may be just dropping the mark. It may just be the FXX100 2. This camera is shaping up to be pretty impressive, but I will wait to see if some people kind of flow in and just start talking and going over the general news, and then I will get into the main story. Probably won't go super long tonight. I did start about 25 minutes later than I usually do. I did schedule it later, but I also was late on that. So yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here. If you are here and you're watching, give a like. It gets it out to more people. Last week we had a pretty big week, and we had I think about 13 or 14 people that were watching at the time. Maybe it was less than that. It could be like 8 or 9 people at the time of. Most people watch this well after the fact, which is great. I appreciate anybody watching anytime. But last week was fun because we had people in the chat and we were able to conversation back and forth. So if you are here and you're watching, hit that like button, get this out to more people. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, that's for good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh and see if I get lucky. But the Fujifilm rumor is actually really new. So that's just happened today, and nobody else has covered it from what I've seen, besides obviously Fuji rumors. But right here is Canon rumors right now. Let's go ahead and refresh and see if I get lucky. So this is kind of interesting of a patent. This is the latest story in Canon rumors. But this patent is kind of interesting. Essentially, it's a miniaturized built-in teleconverter. I don't know if they would actually be using this in any. I don't know. I that would be really cool to see them do that, but I feel like they could be, I don't know, hurting some of their lenses by doing that to a degree. And I guess if you're in a big body like the R1, I mean, that would be super cool if they could literally do this. I mean, they obviously can if they're, have something. But I'm thinking they're saying that this is being built into a body. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. So in this Japan patent application, Canon is investigating creating a smaller built-in teleconverter for use in lenses. Okay. That would normally not expect to see a teleconverter installed in. Okay, so I'm wrong. This is still in the lens. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But the way it looked right here with the camera, I was thinking, are they actually putting this in a camera? And then the more I looked at it, I'm like, I'm an idiot. All right. The idea of the patent application is to make the mechanism and the sliding out of the optical elements that make up the teleconverter as small as possible and that can fit inside of the lens body without requiring the hump. Oh, that is cool. We now see on the built-in teleconverter lenses. Here is the mechanized animation. Okay, this is super cool. Yeah, if they could do this, I would be very impressed. Which is kind of interesting because in the past they had their zoom lenses. They've had them zoom out, and they're giving like a zoom. They used to have them zoom out internally rather, but they were bigger lenses. You had to have a bigger lens that would fit in the bag at all times in order to do that. And it turned out that, it just seemed like, at least with this RF generation, they're not really doing the internal zooms because they're just kind of prioritizing having it smaller. At least that's seems like what's going on. And personally, I don't like the fact that when you have an external zoom, you can get like dust and whatever you're in, like sand. I was in this desert and I was worried about getting sand down in the lens and can really mess it up. That being said, I don't like carrying a lot of big things in my bag. So, I mean, I'm good with the trade off, but I do wonder if you did something like this, which it's super cool looking. But how much would it really add a lot of extra weight? And would it really cut down that much? Now, I mean, obviously they're saying that it's devised to make it smaller. I guess it would be smaller than like maybe having that extra piece that a normal teleconverter does have. But yeah, this is kind of cool. It's definitely. I just wonder. I wonder what would actually happen there. Would it be extending out further? Anyways, it's funny because that's like the next line. It says, it's kind of cool. I'm not sure how practical this would be in terms of reliability over time and if survivability if you ever drop the lens, but there could be some great use cases if Canon gets this to work right. I found it curious and a little interesting that Canon would show the cross section of what appears to be a 50 millimeter with this mechanism, suggesting that a 50 millimeter and an 85 millimeter hybrid lens, a built-in teleconverter, so consider as an example an f1.2 and an 85 f2.0. Built in to the same lens and being able to switch between the two primes and just a touch of a button. Interesting, other smartphones allow us to switch between two or more focal lengths with just a touch of a button or a slider. So this could be could conceivably have a similar capacity with on a larger camera. This is also contemplate continuation of a prior patent application, which at least shows that Canon is somewhat serious in early states of development. Now, of course, as with all Canon patent applications, it's simply a patent application, not a patent yet, and certainly not a product yet or ever. It does give us a glimpse into what the smart minds at Canon are dreaming up, though. Yeah, it's interesting. I do wonder though. Okay, so it's showing this. Maybe this wouldn't be a thing. But I know like Sony makes the sensors for smartphones. What if this could be like something that they don't actually wind up putting in on their lenses? I mean, this is obviously their lens. I get it, but at the same time, I could almost see this being a way for cameras, like even smartphone cameras, to add this type of thing. Because some of the ways that they've been doing it, they have like their periscoping lens, but I mean, this could be a way for them to have like they could just have a very miniature version of this in an actual smartphone. But how would you feel about having two versions of a prime like that? Because anytime you put a teleconverter, you are like it's dropping it down. I don't know 100%, but I'm assuming that there's some hit to sharpness, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I've never really used a teleconverter. I know some people have, but a lot of times some people just say switch lenses or do whatever. But I don't know if it would make a difference the fact that it's inside or if it would even matter. But yeah, I think it's a cool concept, interesting. If anybody's live, maybe I can get some take on this. If you are live and you're watching, hit that thumbs up, gets this out to more people. I was a little later starting, but last week we had a good time late at night. Doesn't sound right, does it? Last week we had a good time, and so maybe maybe this week we're gonna have a good time too. Uh, okay, cool. So Truth Seeker says exposure good and mic good. Okay, cool. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm trying to get you over here. There you go. Now people can see the exposure or the Truth Seeker. I appreciate it, Truth Seeker. Thank you for being here. If you are here or anybody's just watching and you can't talk, completely understand that. Hit that like button though. It gets it out to more people and always is very appreciated. All right, let me go back and continue on our journey here. See what we got. All right, so there will be a lot of new RF mount lenses from Canon between now and March 2024. Okay, interesting. I mean, camera company makes lenses. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily newsworthy. I'm just kidding. Uh, it just seems like duh. They're gonna have a lot of lenses. But this does make sense. There's been a lot of discussion about the Canon RF lineup, and certain areas are in dire need of being addressed. We have been talking to a few people about what Canon has in store for lens announcements over the next 6 months. We've been told more than once to expect a lot of new RF and RFS lenses between now and March. We received another email just this morning on the same topic. We expect at least 2 lenses to be announced later this. I'll say they X this out. You got ahead of myself in late September, and possibly a second lens announcement later in 2023. We haven't yet confirmed which lenses will be announced and when. Sources made it seem like there are a lot just waiting to be announced. We won't pretend to fully understand the hows and whys and whens of the product's announcement. February 2024 is also the annual CP Plus show in Nakahama. I know I'm saying that right. Wrong. I know I'm saying that right. Nakahama, Japan, and I feel like I've heard it said right, and I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, and Canon loves to show off new goodies on their own turf. A show we also expect Canon to show off a couple new higher end cameras. We've been told to expect between 8 to 10. Wow, that is impressive. That is newsworthy. 8 to 10 new RF/RF lenses between now and March of 2024. And yes, you will finally see those wide angle L prime lenses, so you can shut up soon enough. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, so that is some big news. I mean, I think it'd be bigger news if we said, if we could hear that, hey, we're gonna see a Tamron or a Sigma coming to this, because there's actually there is some news about a lens that it just came out to Nikon, and I'll go ahead and skip over to that really quick. And I'm not gonna talk about it because I didn't watch all of it. I just watched part of it. But essentially, the Tamron 35-150 was finally announced, and according to our residential with his never mind. Anyways, but he's essentially saying it's like the best Tamron or the best zoom lens. He had high praises. Where is it? I can't find the story. Frono's photo, he was just talking about how awesome that lens was. At least that was his impression of it on Nikon. And I don't know. I know that lens works really well with Sony because I have it right over there. But I was I don't know, curious to see or interested at the fact that it's on Nikon. Now, I know Nikon is giving up, the rights and allowing permitting, but I don't know, have they fully opened up the mount? As far as I know, Sony and Fujifilm are the only 2 cameras companies that actually have like a fully open mount system. To like, they're sharing their technology. I believe Fuji's mount is like fully open at this point, and I know Sony's has been for a long time. And so I wonder what Nikon's doing. I feel like I've heard that they have an open mount now, but I don't know if they just have an open mount or they have a very good permitting process. Like Canon's like literally stopped people from making it, but apparently they want to sell 8 to 10 more lenses. So maybe they just say, hey, this is all for us now. And I do love to see third party lens and glass, but considering just like how much the camera industry has been hurt by cell phones and just the changing of dynamics and demographics, um, just the changing in technology, and the camera industry is just a fraction of what it used to be. And so maybe this is just the way that they're going to have to be in order to survive is, hey, look, we have our name brand, we have our proprietary system, we make the most money off of our lenses anyways, and so we're just going to eliminate competition. As long as they stay, it sucks because usually the competition at least allows other people to sell more bodies, but then maybe they don't make the money off the bodies. And I don't know, I hate it, but at the same time I hate it, but I can't hate on it too much. This is just the calculation that they're making is that, hey, well, we might sell less bodies, but we're going to have more lenses, or have, make our money off our lenses. And maybe this will hurt them over time. I know it's definitely, helped Sony, the fact that they had such an early lead in mirrorless and they have such a wide, um, healthy third party lens manufacturing. That being said, they I bet Sony saves a lot of money giving you that crappy screen. This crappy screen that they have on their cameras. And they probably save a lot of money because they are a sensor manufacturer, and a lot of their R&D is going into sensors already because they're giving, their sensors to like the iPhone and other cell phone companies. So they're already making sensors, and Canon, they're probably splitting their R&D. I bet Canon makes about, I wouldn't be shocked if they make more money on their printers at this point with like their printer ink than they do with their cameras, which obviously wasn't the thing a long time ago. I don't know. Let's build up the camera industry, guys. I'm here. I'm late night streaming. Are you listening? Anyways, if you are here and you're listening, hit that like button. We went over this one last week. All right, let me go ahead and go back to the chat, see if anybody jumped in. What up, Jason? 2 weeks in a row. That's impossible. Some new APS-C RF lenses is definitely needed in the RF lineup. I appreciate you being here, Jason, and absolutely, I completely agree. It's the thing that's holding back Canon from being a major player in the APS-C world, and I think they have some great cameras. And honestly, I think Sony kind of coasts in the APS-C. They've done some interesting stuff, I guess, with the ZV. No, they haven't really. I mean, they've really barely been a player in APS-C for a while, and then they came out with the A6700, which is basically a somewhat similar version to the FX30. So I'm not saying that's a bad camera, but it wasn't like the flagship that people wanted out of them. It wasn't like their version of a Fujifilm XH2S, which, if the Fujifilm XH2S had Sony's autofocus, it would probably be one of the best cameras out there. I mean, it already is a pretty amazing camera. But I mean, it's just lacking that autofocus. So to me, they're really kind of able to coast by slightly with the fact that they have really good lenses and really good autofocus. But Fujifilm may be about to eat people's lunch here. I'm going to skip to that. That's a little teaser. Anyways, there's a gnat here, and it's attracted to the light, and everything else is dark. So that's me. All right, let me go ahead and go over to. I realized I wasn't sharing my screen. I hope I shared my screen earlier. Let me go over to Sony Alpha rumors and see what we got. If there's anything interesting in the Sony world. Besides Jason, if you want to leak, I know Jason has his hands on the Sony A7C Mark II, the A7CR or RC. RC, it reminds me of like a toy car. Yeah, it would be CR. That kind of reminds me of the car too. RC cars. Anyways, but yeah, if you want to leak something, Jason, if you want to give us like I know. Anyways, he can't do it. Don't break your NDA. Don't. But I mean, honestly, who else do they have in Australia? David Osler. He's complained too much and been too honest about Sony. They're not ever going to give him a camera now. They're never going to give you a camera, David. If you're ever watching this, they're not going to do it anymore because you've yelled at them too much about the lack of firmware Sony updates. And I've yelled at them too, but they don't care about me because they don't even know me. And they have plenty of people in America that will, bigger audiences that they actually care about. But Jason, you're like the only game in Australia that I know. Like, they're not going to take away your rights with your Jack t-shirt. So you just leak it right here, right now. Just what's your impressions? You got 3 days to break the NDA, guys. I mean, I think he could get away with it. His Jack t-shirt, he could say, oh, 26, a 6 looks like a 9 upside down. And so, it's an upside down 9, and I just got confused. Look at my Jack t-shirt, and they'd be like, all right, he's been good to us. And he told it on a channel that literally nobody on Sony probably watches. Anyways, he's like literally going to drop out now. Sorry, Jason, throwing you under the bus. I mean, he doesn't have things, and we don't all know it. Anyways, look forward to your review. Okay, I'm done. All right, so Curiosity, Tamron CEO to resign due to misappropriation of expenses. I'm not going to go reading all this, but okay, what's the company has received requests from former representative director and president Shiro Akasaki. I know I'm saying that's wrong too. That he would like to resign and represent director as of today. So I don't want to read this entire thing, but it is interesting, I guess. I mean, it is wonder. This looks like it's just like a resignation thing. But misappropriation of expenses. I wonder what that means. Is it like a legitimate misappropriation, meaning that like he thought he was doing the right thing, or was there actually a scandal here? I probably should read it, but it doesn't seem like it's something I care to read that much. Okay, this is kind of interesting. This is a new leaked high resolution image of the new Sony 300mm f2.8. It's really not that big. That's what she said. It's not as big as I was expecting. That's a decent sized little lens. I bet it's heavy, but it doesn't look that bad. It's a 2.8 300. I mean, Sony's gotten really good, but I wonder how much this thing's going to cost. I would say way more than $6,000 probably. I wonder how much. I don't think it says, but I bet it's more than $6K. Because it's made for these specialty A1s with their battery grips. People who are watching this. So this is obviously a track meet. I wonder how it is performing. I'm sure this is supposed to be coming out. I hope this isn't one of the. I don't think that this would be a lens that's announced with the Sony A7C or A7CR. I mean, if it's out in the wild, then it's pretty close. But to me, this doesn't like scream. That those cameras rather don't scream to the same type of audience that this camera or this type of lens would kind of go towards. So I would much rather hopefully see that if there really is a new 15 to 35 GM2. I would love to see that with the C because if it's a smaller version of that wide lens, it could look really good for like a vlogging or a small, the A7C is a pretty small compact body. So that makes a lot more sense to me. This 300 though could bode or be like an omen for the fact that there maybe really is going to be that A9 Mark III. So maybe that's going to be getting announced with the A9 Mark III, which would make a lot more sense to me. All right, let's keep going. No, nothing here that's super interesting from what I can see. New Xperia announcement. I wonder if this is the Pro one. Okay, it is rumored will announce the Xperia 5V. What? That doesn't make sense because 5 and a V are the same thing. Okay, that's 5V. Okay, V is numero. Yeah, it's V is 5. but why would they call it 5 and B? Get your stuff together. Okay. I'm always curious about the Xperia phones. I wish Sony could figure it out, because at this point, cameras and smartphones, the big innovation is pretty much all cameras at this point. And Sony already makes the sensors. They already have a really cool experience with their mirrorless cameras. I think they've been very close at times, but I really think that they need to get better about just having an automatic mode, because they need to be able to bring in the casuals and work the casuals up to a pro app. And so far, they haven't really been able to bridge that gap. So it's just, if you any of like the comparison tests you'll see, most of the time, yeah, if there's somebody who really wants to take their time and know what they're doing, they can match up their camera, their Sony phone, and get a pretty good experience. But most of the time, the other smartphones will just do better because the computational photography and the things like that. But they've been very, very close in the past, and I would like them to see them keep all those same types of features, but get better on the automatic side to bring people in. And I think that would be, I think it'd be really cool. And I've really been tempted by it at this point. Like, I've never had an iPhone until just now. I've always been Android. But then I got an iPhone like a year ago. I got the 13-ish. So whatever we're on. No. Yeah, we're on 14. I got 13. And I'm never bought 14. So yeah, it's been about a year and a half since I've had that smartphone. I bought it late, and now I feel like I'm in Apple's ecosystem. They finally like grabbed me. I resisted it because I had like Apple everything else, but I had an Android since the beginning because, anyways, I'm not, long story short, but I just kept it going. I was pretty much Samsung guy, and finally my wife taught me into it. And I don't necessarily say I 100% love it more, but I do feel like they're more durable, they're stronger. I do feel like I can use their phones, their cameras, pretty interchangeable. But if any company was going to bring me back to Android, it would be Sony at this point. Rant ended. Let's see. Let's go back to the comments. Jason should start reviewing Canon, according to Truth Seeker here. Jason does review Canon, actually. So I'm not going to speak for him, but yeah, he does. He hasn't done it as much. He is more of a Sony guy, no doubt. But he does. He'll dabble in the Canon. I know he did a review for the Canon R5C, which I thought was a great review, and I bought the Canon R5C because of it. And I hate the camera, Jason. I'm just kidding. No, he reviewed it. And he did a pretty awesome job about it. And he does other stuff because he has his Komodo. And so, yeah, he does stuff. Jason does other things besides Sony. He's just, mostly Sony. I mean, that's what he shoots. So it makes sense. And, I always feel that Jason is doing a good thing besides not leaking more on my channel. But no, other than that, he always does a great job on what he does. But yeah, anytime you could, have more Canon cameras come your way. But that's just the thing. He shoots Sony. He already has a relationship with Sony. I think in the past he's worked with Sony on their Canon Reels, their Instagram Reels and things like that. So he already has just that built-in relationship, and he's already part of that community. That, not that he just probably doesn't get as many Canon cameras thrown his way. Otherwise, I'm sure he would be like, sure, I'll review Canon. But he's just not. He's just probably doesn't get as many offers from Canon. But hey, Canon, if you're listening, Jason is definitely the guy to send Canon cameras in Australia. Nobody else, except for David Osler, because he's kicked out of Sony camp. Okay. I'm obviously like super niching down this channel. Like, usually you're supposed to like niche out as you get bigger, but like I'm just like really niching in. I'm like going into like, now I am talking about Sony influencers. Like that's now my niche. I'm not even talking about the cameras. Anyways, I'm done. All right, let me go ahead and reshare the screen, and we'll go to Nikon, and then we will hopefully finally get to the main story. I'll stop rambling. I kicked, Jason probably left because I was bugging him too much, or or gonna get him in trouble. All right, Nikon is a very strong presence at the upcoming 2023 uh, Build Expo. Okay, nothing. Build Expo. I don't see a U, so I'm confused. I don't know why. I mean, I mean, is that 50? It's not B&H, is it? Oh, B&H present. Okay, I'm an idiot. So 50 years. That's cool. But I wonder what they're going to be like. What is their presence about? Because I don't think they really have anything coming. They have the FX camera, or excuse me, it's like their retro style camera. Um, but I don't know if any other things that they have coming. All right. Let me jump ahead. Let's go to mirrorless and just see if anything happened, and then we will go to the main topic of today, which is Fujifilm, which is rare because usually Fujifilm is not necessarily a main topic, but when it is, I love Fujifilm. I mean, it just holds a special place in my heart. The Fujifilm X-T20 first mirrorless interchangeable lens camera, or first interchangeable lens camera that was actually mine. And I mean, I feel like I still got some pretty good stuff out of it. Like I'll look back. I mean, I'll look back at certain photos and be like, well, why did I do that? But the ones that, as far as it wasn't the camera's fault, I guess is my point. And some of video that, had no business getting decent video out of it. But if you had good lighting and you had, a good shot, or you're at a cool location, then, it did pretty good. I was actually kind of surprised when I look back. I'm like, that doesn't look like it was shot on an APS-C camera that was shooting 1080p. But yeah. All right, so I'm not seeing anything. Oh. Ooh. Okay, this is cool. I feel like there must be dust or something in it. I don't know how I missed this. Panasonic says new entry and very high-end L-mount cameras will be coming, and the new telephoto zoom lens will be very compact. So this is interesting. I need to actually text him about it to figure out if he's heard any more, if that was just wound up being a bust, or if it was just is something that was delayed. Because Simon at the Ordinary Filmmaker, I need to text him. I haven't texted him in a while. He basically said he had a big, release and announcement that he had a leaker, and supposedly it was like a really good, trusted source saying that the Fujifilm what's that? Which one is it? Oh my gosh, S1H Mark II was going to be coming soon, which is like their high-end video-centric camera. And I mean, I've said it multiple times. If the Panasonic S1H original had phase detect autofocus, we would have a very different camera landscape, in my opinion. It was way ahead of its time. It still has been a darling for a lot of independent Netflix. It was one of the first Netflix approved mirrorless cameras, like the small compact ones. So yeah, I think it would have been a great camera. And he was talking about like some of the stuff that it would have. And Panasonic, if any company was going to maybe pull me away from Sony, it would probably be Panasonic. I still think I would keep dual systeming it with Canon, just because I like to have two or more systems. But Sony's annoyed me certain times with their lack of firmware updates and stuff like that. So if any camera was going to take me away and pull me away into the L-mount alliance, it would be Panasonic. Anyways, this video will continue to be a focus on 4K, 6K, oversampled, 6K, and open gate. 8K is not significantly popular in the consumer market. What? What are you talking about? In the consumer market, is the only where to me it's popular. In the prosumer, it's not very popular in my mind. Unless this is the low grade one. Yeah, the pro market I don't think cares much about the 8K. Honestly, I think the 8K is just but it's a pretty. I mean, it's cool. I like the my oversampled 8K from the R5C, but yeah, 8K is not a big deal to me. But I think it's a good marketing thing. And 8K, there is benefits to it. Like people don't understand. Like I don't shoot in 8K. I'll usually do the downsampled 4K from 8K. I don't like to shoot people, no, which is weird. I don't like to shoot like faces with it. I don't like to shoot talking stuff. because I'd rather have a softer look. No one wants to see this in 8K. Believe me, I barely want to see it in 4K. But and it's kind of more somewhat filmatic if you have a softer look. Like I have the detail almost turned all the way down on my Sony A7S III, and it's a fairly soft 4K. It's not oversampled from anything, and I hardly ever add sharpening. Uh, so I use it more for like talking and like in the face stuff. But when you go to like some of the stuff I get at some of like the locations with my Canon R5C, like some footage that I've had, it's just like it's crisp. I don't know. I kind of don't want to mess with the stream, but I have like some video. I don't know if it would come through, but just some of the stuff I get out of it is just beautiful, and I like to show, um, like landscapes and architecture and like a temples and things of that nature. Um, like I like to see it in the super sharp resolution. It just adds something to it, and also it's cool because even though I don't do it as much as maybe I should. To be real, I don't think about it as much because I do try to get good composition, or even if I don't have good composition, a lot of times I'm cutting out the footage as I'm like as I'm scraping through footage. A lot of times I'm just getting the best of the best that I can see. Um, but there's a lot of shots you could save in 8K if you didn't have good composition, or you want to just add something a little better. You can have, like a pull zoom out. And so you can zoom in and you can 4 times and you're still, or is it 4 times or whatever it is? I can't exactly remember. I think 2 times you can zoom in and yeah, you'd still be in 4K. If you 2 times zoom 4 times, 4 times you'll still be in 1080p. So you could literally zoom in on something and have like a pan out or, a pan in and really still keep the same quality. I know some people, Simon being one of them, um, he was using it like for different product reviews. He would literally just set it up in 8K, and then he would do like the zoom. It would look like he had things on a is it a tally or what, I can't think of what they're called, a slide. So it looked like he had stuff on a slide and he never even just moved the camera. So I mean, it just saves a lot of time. And you could do it in post. I mean, if you have the slides, it's cool, but you had a lot of times you remove the slides, set it up, light up different stuff. And if you can just do that in post because you can and you have 8K and you're more of an editor than just a videographer, then yeah. Anyways, oh gosh, all that air for, I'm pretty sure I just lost everybody. Anyways, all right, let's get to the main story because I'm very interested in this camera. I'm very interested in what's coming. And so yeah, let's do it. Oh, okay, we're getting more people right when I get to main topics. Don't you like it? So somebody like was really tuned in. If you're here, you're watching live, hit that like button. If you're watching after the fact, I very much appreciate it. Okay, so we have some big news about a camera that I am actually very excited to hear more about. I don't know if it'd be a camera I would ever buy, but I'm just excited about the market in general, and I think it's really smart what Fujifilm is doing. It is the Fujifilm GFX100 II, and it should be coming soon, and it's coming with some pretty incredible specs that are leaking. And Fuji rumors, they leak these things, and they're usually like pretty spot on, so I pretty much think he works for them. So yeah, this is some pretty big information. Let me go ahead and go over to the site and we'll go over it. All right, this is, like I said, coming from Fuji Rumors. This is the big headline right that's just leaked, and there's even some more specs. But it's coming with 8 stops of IBIS. So the only other camera company that I know of that does 8 stops. All right, so let me go ahead and read it really quick. According to our trusted sources, the Fujifilm XFX100 Mark II will have 8 stops of IBIS shake composition. The more the rumor list below gets longer, the more this camera is starting to impress me. So yeah, this is, I think, a camera that they were kind of alluding to, saying that it was going to be, a faster camera. It was going to more compete with like an A1 and things like that, or like a higher end camera that's also fast. And I think one of the things that's held this camera back, besides, it's, full medium format's been pretty expensive. But I think one of the things that has held it back is, it hasn't been, it's not quite as fast. You still get that quite a bad rolling shutter out of this thing. So if they can speed that up and then also have better IBIS, 8 stops of IBIS on a medium format sensor. So, I wonder what they're doing. I mean, when they say 8 stops of IBIS, generally speaking, I think that's mostly just using the sensor, but are it's very possible that that's like their active stabilization and they crop in slightly. If that's the case, if I get 10% crop, I'm okay with it. 8 stops is interesting. The last company that I feel like we've heard 8 stops from is Canon. It was really good. The only problem was, is with that wobble if you're really like walking and trying to get it out of it. But where it did excel is, just the typical B-roll where you're behind the camera B-roll, or you were, doing a long exposure without a tripod. I mean, it really was impressive with that. I mean, to be real, that's more of what it's use cases for a lot of people, but for people who, are trying to do the vlogs and the YouTube stuff, we a lot of times are like, yay, and we get that warp. I think it's an exaggerated issue, I guess is my point, because not everybody's a YouTuber or trying to be a YouTuber. Not everybody's trying to be Peter McKinnon, but he has such a big audience that when they see that wobble in Matty Hapoya or all those guys' video and they see that wobble, or in the past the wobble, and the Matty Hapoya is like, oh, I'm switching to Sony because I hate the wobble. I think more people like look at it and it's kind of like a camera war type scenario. It's like, oh yeah, my team is cooler because now we don't have wobble. You guys have wobble. You have all those stops, but your things wobble. But for most people's, use cases, they're not necessarily like looking at themselves. They're filming things. Maybe it's an event or whatever they're doing, or they're taking pictures. Having 8 stops is pretty impressive. If they could do 8 stops without the wobble, would be incredible. And the number's not always just, like I think the Panasonics, they don't technically, say that they're 8 stops. But yeah. Um, but I mean, they're usually like the top of the line in my mind. I wonder if it's 8 stops with the lens, or if it's going to be 8 stops without the lens. That's another question. Because I know, I think Canon is usually like 7 stops and then 8 stops if it's incorporated with the lens. So this camera is apparently being announced fairly soon. It's September 12th at 5 a.m. New York time. Let me go down here, some of the specs. This is pretty cool. The latest subject tracking and the latest autofocus of any GFX camera. So, I just hope they're improved it even more. Got a 100 megapixel sensor, rumored here. So the 5th generation of that. So how much faster will it be? And 100 megapixels on a medium format camera actually, is okay, because it's such a much bigger of a sensor that you actually get better photo node and things like that. My son is coming downstairs, so if you hear him in the background, honestly, I've started too late, and it's his time to go to bed. But yeah, he's coming down here, and so if you hear it, you hear him, and yeah. But the thing that interests me the most about this camera, here's some of the specs that we're hearing about. We'll have a tilt and detachable EVF. If that's true, that's super cool. Now these are rumors, obviously, so not all these are like verified rumors. We'll have we heard a detachable battery grip, which is to me is better to be able to have more form factor than just having like the integrated one. New sensor, of course, they just said that the size of the GFX 100S. So yeah, that was a really good size there. New BSI sensor used on Sony. That doesn't make sense. So I guess it's just saying the technology of the Sony a6700, but yeah, it's not nothing different. CF Express Type B. So the specs are going to be what the specs are. 8K video. What will be interested is on a 2 megapixel in that 16K that it would be technically capable of. Maybe like almost 17K at that point. Are they possibly going to downsample to 8K? If not, it will have to be some crazy pixel binning, and you would have to have like a basically a 2-time crop, which would kind of suck. Unless they like do like a 1.5 crop, or rather like, maybe they're downsampling from 12K or something like that. And they do like a a partial crop and not like a full on 2 time crop. But either way, I would like to see that not be a thing. 4K 60, same thing. Or are they going to be downsampling from like stupid resolution? I mean, that would be impressive, but I just do not know. They would have to be doing some pretty crazy stuff with the processors. I wish that I think a lot of them maybe can't do that with the design language, but I mean, if they could put things in it, if this had, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm like just maybe I'm just speculating here. Maybe I'm wrong in the capabilities, but I'm pretty sure if this was running ARM and was using like the latest smartphone cameras, um, then if this was sorry a notification, I'm sure you heard that. If this was like using like the latest processors or even maybe last generation's processor of like the A Bionic chip that they use in the new iPhones, which are crazy overpowered for the iPhones, if they could use something like that, these specs would easily be able to be done. If they're taking all that processing power, just throwing it towards a camera, I think that's easily there. But the problem is technology can grow so fast with cameras and the sensors that they use, and just or cell phones. But it can grow that fast because it is so um, what's the word? There's so much money flowing there, and they constantly are trying to re-up themselves. So the R&D and just the amount of engineering and engineers that go into that process is just going to be more than what a camera company could do. But if Fuji could work out some kind of something with people, be like, hey, I'm going to give you my film LUTs and give you my looks. If hey iPhone, I'll give you my looks if you give me part of a good deal on maybe last year's version of your processor. That would be super cool. I don't know. I want it to happen. Please make it happen. Make this good. But what I do think is super cool, extra large 9.44 million EVF. Is that the same one? Capable with external cooling fan. That's also a good thing. This is shaping up to be a great camera. What will it be priced at is the big issue. But what I do think is smart, what Fujifilm is doing here so brilliantly, is they're really the only good players in my mind in the APS-C game, that's really just like dedicated towards it. Um, but they completely skipping over full frame and they're going up to medium format. They're pretty much the only medium format company that I could think of that's kind of somewhat marketing towards prosumers and are not just like the ultra amazing, people who are doing crazy product photography using Hasselblads and things like that. So just to have that type of company, that type of a market that's being built in, I think that they could really be hedging their bets in a smart direction. And if they could get some of their technology dialed in, they could truly be a huge alternative and competitor to full frame cameras, and obviously dialing in that price a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, though. I'm not seeing any more comments. Yeah, okay. Truth Seekers. Jason said he's still here. That's funny. So I didn't scare him away, but I'm sure he's working. He works like all the time. That's why he's jacked and stuff. His YouTube channel's jacked. In a good way. Makes sense. Okay. Anyways, Truth Seeker. I haven't been impressed with Fujifilm and Sony's IBIS. IBIS is the best, followed by Canon. Yeah. Let's see. I'm thinking he's about to say that get cut off. Let's see if I can figure that out. Man, it's weird. Oh, Panasonic's IBIS is the best, followed by Canon. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, Fujifilm's IBIS has been pretty awful, from like the shakiness of it in general, and then Sony's hasn't been great. With the active stay, they've gotten better. But yeah, you're right. I would give that order. I don't. That's a very similar order. I think OM Systems is actually really good, but I mean, who cares really at this point about the old Olympus, if it was still even a thing. But my son's music is playing in the background. I just started late. That's on me. I shouldn't have started this late. But he is going to sleep, and so I need to get out of here. I appreciate the people who did show up live and was able to interact. I appreciate everybody being here on a late night talking about cameras. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've found interest in it. If you are here watching after the fact, I very much thank you. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've watched anywhere close to the end of this 50-minute video, then that means that you've probably enjoyed yourself some, unless you literally are like masochistic and are watching it because you hate yourself. I don't know. Anyways, bad ramble, but the fact is, I think you probably liked it if you're still here, and if you hadn't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. It's very much appreciated. Until next time, I'll try to be on better schedule next time and actually show up on time. Until next time, peace.